Sometimes as an admin, you just need to have a report that summarizes what your team has done during a specific date range. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into on this specific training. We're going to create a team summary report. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dig into this. So I'm going to click on the Reports tab up at the top. And from here, obviously we can see our standard reports and any custom reports that we've previously created. But in this particular case, we're going to create a new custom report that is a team summary report. So I'm going to click on the Add Report button. And from there, I'm going to name this New Team Summary. I could give it a description if I want, but I'm lazy, so I'm going to leave the description box empty. Now for report type, I'm going to change this from Member Detail to Team Summary. Once I choose Team Summary, you'll notice that some of my options just went away. Let's look at that one more time. Let's switch back to Member Detail. And let's switch back to Team Summary. Whoop! What did we lose there? Back to Member Detail. We don't get to include the call graph when we're doing a Team Summary report. So let's switch that back to Team Summary. And once we create this Team Summary report, we'll actually look at one report and then back to the other report just so that you can start to see the differences between those. We still need to define the default date range. So we can define that as a real-time leaderboard, today, yesterday, last week, Monday through Friday, last month, last 7 days, so on and so forth, all the way up to year to date. And of course, this is just defining how the report is going to load when we first open it. After we open the report, we can change the date range at any point to whatever we want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and set this to last month. I can also change the default leaderboard theme from light to dark. And if I wanted to, I could rotate the leaderboard fields. I'm not going to do that. Well, when it comes to the leaderboard and a team summary report, I typically don't recommend that. Let's go ahead and hit save. Now on the left-hand side, we'll see 3 options are now available: fields, seats, and email delivery. I'm going to click on fields. This allows me to choose which fields I'd like to include in the team summary. I do want to point out that the agent's full name, the first one listed here, really not relevant for us in a team summary. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. But we can leave the other options here. And we can add other fields. So let's go ahead and click on the Add a New Field. And you'll see that we can add different types of fields to this report, different data points that we want to include in this report. And whenever I'm adding new data points, new fields to a report, I typically will leave the field label and description blank until I've selected the type of field and the actual data point that's going to be included. So a lot of times when it comes to any custom report, we're going to use a combination of any number of different field types here. So let's just talk about these real briefly here. So we got simple value / photo. These include things like the member email address, the member's first name, full name, last login, location, phone number, and photo. Rarely am I going to use those, and even less often are those going to be used in a team summary, because it's not going to be broken down by member. So you can ignore these options in a team summary report. So let's jump to sum / total. This allows us to include things like the SMS messages sent, the total call time. Now that total call time is referring to the total amount of time that you were live on the phone with somebody. Then we got total calls, total emails, total live answers, total logins, total no answers. Live answers, no answers. What's the difference there? When you're configuring dispositions in PhoneBurner, there is a setting where you can define whether or not that specific disposition counts as a connected call or not. If it's a connected call, then it would increase the total live answers. If it's not, it would increase the total no answers. Then of course you got the total session duration, total sessions, and total voicemails. Total voicemails should include both recorded voicemails and live voicemails, depending on how you've configured the dispositions. The next type that we might want to consider is dispositions. This will show you a list of all of the statuses assigned to the different dispositions you have created and customized in your PhoneBurner account. I'm not going to go through all of these because what I have listed here is not going to match what you have listed on your account. Just know every time you create a disposition, whatever you put in the status box of that disposition is what is reportable. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of that, and let's go to the next option, which is calculation. There are a few calculations that you can do. Average session duration, average talk time, percent interested. Of course, that is all based off of a specific status of interested. Now, if you're not using a status of interested, this is not going to be relevant for you. Percentage of connected calls. That one is a very handy one. The next type that we want to look at is the folder. This is how many contacts are in any specific folders. May be useful in a team summary, but not necessarily something that I typically will use in a team summary. And of course, I'm not going to go through all these because my folders are going to be different than yours. And then the next option is activity. This is a list of all of the activities that are reportable. So every contact, there can be activities applied to those contacts, like they were called, they were emailed, they opened an email, they unsubscribed from an email. So all of those things can be included. I'm not going to cover all of those right now because there's a ton, and I'm going to record a specific training talking about all of the different activity types that you can include in your reports. So anyway, what do we want to include here? So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to disposition. What are things that I might care about? Like, am I out there trying to book appointments? I might want to see those in my team summary. Like, how many appointments did my team book? So APTs, right? Let's go ahead and save that. Once we save it, then we can add another one. So right now we have calls, talks, average talk time, emails, and appointments. So we might want to know, let's go to sum/total, and let's choose, what was it? Total session duration. That might be a good one. How much time, all of the time, did my team spend in the dialer? Total session duration. And then we might also want to include total talk time. So we go here to sum/total, choose total call time, and save. So anyway, I think you get the idea of how you can add stuff. Once you start adding fields here, you can reorder them by just dragging and dropping them. So we might want to have total talk time next to total calls, and so on and so forth, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which is seats. In this particular case, it's not going to be relevant because this is a team summary. You're not going to choose individual users in this particular case. It's going to be the entire team, so there's nothing to really do here. Email delivery, however, this may be something that you care about. And so let's talk about email delivery. There are 3 options here. We got daily, weekly, and monthly. If you want a daily report, what does that mean to you? And what it means to you and what it means to the system might be different, so we need to talk about this. So if I choose daily here, what that means is it's going to send me an email that includes all of the activity from yesterday. So every day I'm going to get an email that shows me all of the activity that's included in this report from yesterday. I can also include additional recipients. So let's say Johnny needs to get this. It's always going to come to me, the admin, but do I want other people to also receive this? So I click on Add Email Delivery, and now every day I'm going to get a copy of a report that shows all of the activity that my team did yesterday. And of course, it's just what's in this report. But what if I want to get the previous 7 days activity every day? I would choose weekly, and then I would add every day of the week that I want to receive the previous 7 days activity. So if I only wanted that on Monday, I could add just the Monday activity. And then the same thing with monthly. If I want to get the previous 30 days activity every day of the week, I would have to add this 31 times so that every day of the month I would get the previous 30 days activities. I'm not going to go ahead and add that, but I think you get the idea here. Once we've done that, we have our report created. Now, how do we take a look at this report? Let's jump over to the Reports tab up at the top, and we'll see our new team summary listed in our custom reports. We can click on that, and you'll see it is in fact a summary of the entire team. So the team made 681 calls during this date range, had 107 conversations during this date range, and I can change this date range anytime. Now, how does this differ from a member detail report? So I'm going to click on the new member detail report, and you'll see this does have a summary, but this gives it all broken down by team member, so I can drill down in and I can get more details. The team summary is just that. It's a summary of what your team did in the last X amount of days, weeks, months, right? Whatever that date range is. The other thing that I'll point out, you may have noticed that a member detail report does have a summary section. This summary section is limited to, again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it's like 5, 6, 7 data points. Whereas the team summary report doesn't have that same limitation. You can just keep adding fields here. Not that I'd recommend that you add a tremendous amount of data there because it's going to get unwieldy, but you can certainly add more data there. So anyway, that is a quick little overview of the team summary report option here in PhoneBurner. I hope you'll take advantage of this, and this will help you and your organization get more out of the PhoneBurner system. Thanks again, and happy dialing.